friends, and welcome back to Recon by Fire. For today's match, the Custodes are running Shield Host and are led by Valerian, leading a 5-man squad of Custodian Wardens. 2 Blade Champions, each leading a squad of Wardens, and 1 with the Panoptispex Enhancement. 2 Allarus Custodians running solo, 4 Custodian Guards being led by Inquisitor Draxus, 2 squads of Prosecutors, and 2 Caladius Grav-tanks. Imperial Knights are bringing 4 Armiger Warglaves, a Knight Atrapos with the Mysterious Guardian Enhancement, a Knight Atrapos with the Revered Knight Enhancement, and a Knight Castellan. For today's battle, deployment is Search and Destroy, mission is Linchpin, and mission rule is Raise Banners. Top of round 1, and the Imperial Knights are going first. They will draw Area Denial and Overwhelming Force as their secondaries for the turn. Start of the movement phase, and the Warglaive is going to advance to get itself on the natural expansion. Warglaive moves on to the center objective for Area Denial. Atrapos will pivot and move out in support of the Warglaive on the objective. The Atrapos will scooch over to prep for breaking through the wall next turn. The Boneglaive will move up the board, staying behind the walls to threaten the Custodes expansion. Quick turn for the Imperial Knights. They'll score 2 points for raising banners, 5 points for Area Denial, and discard Overwhelming Force for a command point. Bottom of round 1 for the Custodes, and they will draw Secure No Man's Land and Assassination as their secondaries. Start of the command phase, and unfortunately, Inquisitor Draxus' ability fails, causing one of the guards to bite the bullet. Custodian Guards will sticky the home objective. Start of the movement phase, and the Prosecutors are going to advance to move from one building to another. A Blade Guard and his contingent of Wardens are going to advance to get on the natural expansion. In a high-level play, Draxus and company are going to pop out of the center of the building to get line of sight on the Armiger, but leave one on the point to get full re-rolls. The Allarus squad will scooch up against the wall. Prosecutors will reposition to continue to screen out the backfield. Caladius will stage for next turn. Second squad of Wardens doesn't like a 10-inch charge, so they will remain in place. Start of the shooting phase, and the Custodes will spend a command point on Architect Munitions, giving Draxus' squad a lethal hit. They will also pop his once per game ability to shoot twice. After everything is all said and done, the Imperial Knights had to burn a command point on a CP reroll, but the Armiger does survive at 3 wounds remaining. That's going to end the turn for the Custodes. They'll score 2 points for Secure No Man's Land, discarding Assassination for a command point, and raising banners on their home objective. Top of round 2, and the Imperial Knights will draw Assassination and establish Locust as their secondaries for the turn. They'll spend a command point on Insane Bravery for the Wounded Warglaive to make sure they score that objective, giving them 13 points on primary. Before we start the movement phase, the Imperial Knights are going to do a quick check to see if you smashed that subscribe button yet, and then the Atrapos is going to move forward, staying outside of line of fire. Atrapos will tow the building to get line of sight on the Wardens on the objective. The Castellan will reposition to get line of sight on both Draxus and the Wardens. Boneglaive is going to use its full movement to get on the objective, stealing it away from the Wardens and potentially setting up a charge. That's going to end the movement phase, and in a baller move, the Custodes are going to rapid ingress the Warden squad in reserves to have an easy charge next turn. Start of the shooting phase, and the Warglaive on the center objective will establish Locust. The Wardens on the objective will pop their once per battle Living Fortress, giving them a 4-up Feel No Pain. Atrapos fires into the Wardens. They will spike their Feel No Pains like absolute studs and fail to lose a single model. The Atrapos will suffer 3 mortal wounds off of its hazard. Castellan is up next and fires into the same squad. They shrug off a Volcano lance like it's no big deal and lose only a single model. Impressive. Nearby Warglaive into the same squad and brings a Warden down to 1 wound remaining. Knights do not want to lose the Warglaive in combat and decide to end the turn there. They will score 2 points for establishing Locust, 1 point for raising a banner, and discarding Assassination for a command point. Bottom of round 2 for the Custodes, and they will draw Extend Battle Lines and Cleanse. They'll spend a command point on New Orders, cycling away Cleanse for Storm Hostile Objective. Nice. They control their home objective and will score 3 points on primary. Draxus will succeed casting his Psychic Veil, giving his unit Lone Op for the rest of the round. At the start of the movement phase, Trajan and company are going to move in on the Atrapos. Sisters will advance 8 inches to get on the point. Caladius tank is ready to play and will come out to stage for next turn. Wardens will advance 8 inches towards the center objective. Second Caladius won't have any good firing lane, so it will advance to get as far forward as possible. Draxus and company will move towards the center objective. Wardens will make their charge into the Warglaive unfailable. Allarus squad remains ready and waiting. Wardens fire into the Warglaive and fail to score a wound. Valerian and company into the Atrapos, bring it down to 22 wounds remaining. Onto charges, and the Blade Champion with the Wardens makes it into the Warglaive. Valerian and the Wardens make it into the Atrapos. Even with a free reroll, the Wardens will fail their charge on the center objective. The Custodian Guards with Draxus, on the other hand, do make their charge into the Warglaive. On to combat. Valerian and the Wardens are going to select lethal hits, and they will be critting on 5s, so they slice and dice into the Atrapos, and it proves to be enough to take the big guy down. In what I think is a mistake, the Imperial Knights decide not to fight on death here. Custodes will consolidate onto the nearby objective. Imperial Knights will then spend 2 command points to interrupt with the Warglaive, hopefully keeping it alive. It will sweep into the Wardens, taking 1 down and leaving another at just 2 wounds remaining. The clapback proves to be too much for the lone squire to handle, and it succumbs to its wounds. It does explode, taking a Warden out with it. Warglaive in the center gets absolutely raffle stomped by Draxus and the guard, and they reconsolidate onto the objective. That's going to end the turn for the Custodes. They'll score 5 points for extending battle lines, 4 points for storming a hostile objective, and 1 point for raising banners. Top of round 3 for the Imperial Knights, they will draw Defend Stronghold and Behind Enemy Lines as secondaries for the turn. They control their home objective and will score 3 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the Atrapos will reposition so it has line of sight on pretty much everything on the board. The Castellan will reposition so it has line of sight down the center of the board, and the Wardens is shot at last turn. Without the support of the larger knights, the Warglaive does not feel confident being able to battle Valerian, and it will move off the objective. Final Warglaive will arrive from reserves in hopes of stealing the objective. Start of the shooting phase, and both the Warden squads will pop their 4+ Feel No Pain. Red Warglaive fires its meltas into Valerian squad, and they make all their invuls. Atrapos will fire into Draxus and the guards and manages to pick up 1. The Castellan will fire into the same squad, trying to clear the objective before they are able to sticky it, and it successfully does. It will suffer 2 mortals off of failing its hazard check. Warglaive into the depleted Warden squad, and it picks up 2 of them. The Warglaive makes the charge into the Blade Champion. Knights will tank shock, scoring a single mortal. Chain Blade into the Champion, and it fails to score a wound. Champion will clap back, scoring 6 wounds on the Warglaive. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They'll hold on to Defend Stronghold and discard Behind Enemy Lines for a command point. At the end of the turn, the Custodes will pick up the Allarus squad. Bottom of round 3, and the Custodes will draw Containment and Recover Assets as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 8 points on primary. Movement will start with the Sisters pushing towards the table edge to score Containment. They burn a command point to allow the Blade Champion to fall back and charge. Caladius will push forward, hiding from the larger knights but eyes on the Warglaive. Second Caladius will come out and begin to recover assets. Wardens will push towards the center objective to re-secure it. Valerian and company will go after the Warglaive that tried to escape their clutches. Allarus Custodes will come down and cover the objective that was just left. Start of the shooting phase, and the Caladius will open up on the wounded Warglaive, and to the surprise of no one, it gets vaporized. Valerian and company fire into the nearby Warglaive, bringing it down to 8 wounds. The Wardens will follow their shooting with a solid charge surrounding the Warglaive. Wardens into the lonely Warglaive, and they absolutely shred it to pieces. It does not explode, but they do consolidate back onto the point. That is going to end the turn for the Custodes. They will score 6 points for Containment and hold on to recover assets. Imperial Knights will score 3 points for successfully defending their stronghold. Top of round 4 for the Imperial Knights, and they will draw Extend Battle Lines and Marked for Death as their secondaries for the turn. Marked for Death targets are conveniently 3 units that cannot be seen by any knights. They control their home objective and will score 3 points on primary. Thanks to taking mortals due to a failed hazard check, the Atrapos will shoulder the burden. Straight into movement, and the Atrapos will plow through the wall, getting as close to the center objective as possible. It does succeed its battle shock test. The Knight Castellan will move as far away from Valerian as possible. Atrapos will start us off in the shooting phase, and it will send everything into the Wardens on the center objective. It manages to pick up 2 of them, but it will fail its hazard check for its troubles. The Knight Castellan is up next, and it fires the Volcano lance and siege rockets into the Caladius tank, managing to take it down. That's huge as it stops the recovering of assets. The plasma decimator will go into the Wardens on the center objective, and they decide that now is a good time to fail all their saves, meaning they get picked up entirely. This is absolutely horrible for the Knights because the Atrapos cannot charge them onto the objective, failing to score extend battle lines and failing to score primary next turn. That unfortunately is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will hold on to extend battle lines and discard Marked for Death for a command point. Bottom of round 4 for the Custodes, and they will immediately pitch recover assets with new orders, drawing behind enemy lines and overwhelming force as secondaries for the turn. They control 3 objectives and will score 13 points for primary. Start of the movement phase, and the sisters will move forward just because. Valerian and the Wardens will take the safe bet charge and go after the Atrapos. The Allarus will hide but stay in control of the objective. Caladius will do what the Atrapos could not and make it onto the center objective. Lone Blade Champion will go after the Atrapos as well. Start of the shooting phase, and the Knight Atrapos will rotate ion shields. The Wardens fire into it, failing to score a wound, and the Caladius also unloads on it, but the shields hold fast. Moving on to charges, and Valerian will make the charge into the Atrapos. In a heads-up play, the Wardens will surround it, making sure to block off the middle objective so it is unable to consolidate or fall back onto it. Custodes will burn a command point on Avenge the Fallen, giving the squad extra attacks, and they manage to bring the Atrapos down to just 13 wounds remaining. The Atrapos will have the opportunity to clap back here. The Custodes will spend another command point on Unwavering Sentinels. Shoulder the Burden is doing some serious work here, and it manages to pick up 3 Wardens. That is going to end the turn for the Custodes. They will discard both secondaries for a command point. Top of round 5 for the Imperial Knights. They held on to extend battle lines and draw Cleanse. They'll spend a command point for new orders, drawing Sabotage as their secondaries for the turn. They control their home objective and will score 3 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the Knight Castellan will reposition in hopes of seeing the Allarus Custodes, but unfortunately it does not. The Atrapos will remain in combat to get full use of its weapon systems. Knight Castellan into the Caladius, and it picks it up. The Knight Atrapos will fire its non-blast weapons into the Wardens and manages to take down one of them. Going straight into ongoing combat, Valerian and company will fight into the Atrapos. They do manage to take it down. Imperial Knights will spend 2 command points here to fight on death, and it takes the final Warden with it and only wounds Valerian. Bottom of round 5 for the Custodes, they will draw Engage on all fronts and no prisoners. They cycle away no prisoners to draw Established Locus as their secondaries for the turn. Valerian will move into the enemy deployment zone to score Established Locus, and that's going to end their turn, scoring them 4 points for Established Locus behind enemy lines, 4 points for Engage on all fronts, and 15 points on primary. And that is going to end the game, with the final score being 35-66 in favor of the Custodes. Thank you so much, my friends, for watching. We really do appreciate you. If you made it this far in the video, please do consider sharing it with a friend and liking the video, as it would mean quite a bit to us. But until next time, as always, happy gaming.